winner of what I can really only describe as a completely legendary night of football. Today, we're breaking down a truly high-stakes 2026 World Cup round of 16 battle between Switzerland and Colombia. This one was played under the brilliant lights of BC Place in Vancouver, with a coveted ticket to the World Cup quarterfinals on the line, and let me tell you, it delivered absolute theater. 120. Look, I want you to just keep that number in mind for a second, because it took exactly 120 minutes of breathless, totally edge-of-your-seat football to set up one of the most dramatic finishes we've seen in modern World Cup history. We're talking about two brilliant teams just flat-out refusing to yield an inch. Okay, let's dive into Act 1, a tactical chess match. So, the first 90 minutes of this game set up a really fascinating stage of contrasting styles. Right from the opening whistle, the tactical difference was just stunning. On one hand, you've got Colombia's explosive pace and attack. Nestor Lorenzo had his energetic side dialed in right out of the gate. They were totally fueled by the creative spark of James Rodríguez and the literal blazing speed of Luis Díaz. Los Cafeteros were out to dominate, unleashing wave after wave of attack. But then, on the other hand, you have Murat Yakin's Switzerland, who are basically defined by their incredible structural resilience. By utilizing these highly disciplined defensive blocks and overlapping coverage, they beautifully absorbed that intense early pressure from Colombia and, step by step, they kind of just gradually began to find their footing in the match. Now, this tactical clash sparked some wild end-to-end action in the first half, which was ultimately defined by two world-class goalkeepers. In the 21st minute, Colombia came agonizingly close to breaking the deadlock. Gustavo Puerta struck this absolutely venomous curling effort from long range. I mean, it looked absolutely destined for the net, right up until Switzerland's keeper, Gregor Kobel, pulled off a spectacular diving save. But Switzerland answered back right around the 30-minute mark. Their first major opening arrived when Fabian Rieder unleashed a powerful blast of his own, but Colombian custodian Camilo Vargas stood tall to punch the danger away. Despite all this furious action, and a brilliant backheel from Luis Suarez that momentarily unlocked the Swiss midfield, both teams walked into the tunnel at halftime completely deadlocked at 0-0. Going into the second half, well, the story remained pretty much exactly the same, mirroring the first half as an absolute battle of razor-thin margins. Switzerland initiated a really strong restart by turning to their bench for tactical substitutions. Djibril stepped onto the pitch and instantly threatened the Colombian goal with a fierce strike that just narrowly missed the target. But despite the chances, neither side could find a way through. Which brings us to Act 2, the war of attrition. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer chaos bridging the end of regulation and extra time. As the clock ticked away and weariness naturally set in, tensions officially began to boil over on the pitch. Right in the 90th minute, we see those boiling tensions result in quick yellow cards for Swiss veteran Granit Xhaka and Colombia's Luis Suarez. Just into the final minutes of normal time, Ndoye uses his electric pace to bypass Daniel Munoz, but the Colombian defense scrambles perfectly to deflect his cross. That vital defensive play is what pushed this grueling encounter into an additional 30 minutes of extra time. And you guys, the drama only escalates from there. In the 105th minute, Colombia's Jhon Lucumí sees his header painfully crash against the crossbar. Just 3 minutes later, at the other end, Switzerland's newly introduced Zeki Amdouni instantly tests Camilo Vargas. And then, at the 115th minute mark, a late Swiss VAR penalty appeal for a challenge on Rieder gets dismissed. So, 120 minutes down, the scoreboard is completely unblemished, and that brings us to the climax of the match. Act 3, the ultimate penalty drama. Because after 120 minutes of 0-0 football, we were forced into the ultimate test of nerves, a penalty shootout. Now, the shootout started with absolute precision. Juan Fernando Quintero and Granit Xhaka buried their respective opening spot kicks. But the exact moment the pendulum really swung in Switzerland's favor was when Colombia's Davinson Sanchez stepped up and sent his effort crashing against the crossbar. Capitalizing on that miss, Zeki Amdouni stepped up and coolly put the Swiss ahead. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the sheer shockwaves that literally hit the stadium. Just when it looked like the Swiss had full control, Swiss defender Manuel Akanji uncharacteristically blazed his penalty high over the bar. No way, right? Just like that, Colombia was brought right back into the contest, tying the shootout at 2-2. So, with the score tied again, the defining moment of the match arrived in 3 crucial beats. First, Colombia's Cucho Hernández stepped up, aiming low for the bottom left corner.
Second, Gregor Kobel reads the shooter perfectly, throwing himself into a massive, full-stretch save to deny Colombia the advantage. Following that truly heroic stop, Cedric Itten and Luis Díaz both calmly executed their following penalties under immense pressure, making it 3-3. It literally all came down to the final kick.
The weight of an entire nation fell on the shoulders of Rubén Vargas. Just imagine that for a second. Standing over the ball, knowing exactly what was at stake, he took a deep breath. With absolute ice in his veins, he completely outsmarted Camilo Vargas by sending him the wrong way and blasted the ball into the net. With that strike, he secured a 4-3 victory on penalties for Switzerland, and wild, unforgettable celebrations erupted on the pitch for the Swiss players.
All right, let's look at the takeaway making World Cup history.
1954. So the crucial point is this massive milestone you need to take away from this explainer today. 1954 was the last time Switzerland reached a World Cup quarterfinal. This dramatic shootout victory finally broke a grueling 72-year drought for the nation. It's just incredible.
So Switzerland survived the ultimate test of nerves and claimed their historic victory. But it leaves us with this final, highly provocative question. Do they actually have enough left in the tank to dethrone Argentina? They are now set up for a monumental clash against the defending champions, and it promises to be absolute must-watch football. Thank you so much for joining me